Oh my God. That building just fell down.
Oh.
There's debris everywhere.
Yeah, what's going on?
I don't know, but I swear I thought I saw something in there.
What was that?
Like it was.
Oh God!
Like
Everyone's
it was alive.
running.
How's my hair?
I mean, I guess it looks
like. Is
good.
it all right? Like,
yeah,
I just don't want it to be like
do you
out
want
of
to move
the
into a better light though?
Yeah, could we just guys,
okay.
please, we're trying here to.
Can you
just chill out for a second?
Over, sir?
Yeah, here,
you stand right there.
If I kind of move it to the side,
okay,
like this, I feel like it's always a little off. Don't lick your finger and touch my hair. You're not my mom. Okay, I know you're trying to help. Sorry,
okay,
this
is
a high stress environment. Trying to get a good shot right now, and there's
all the other stuff going
chaos
on,
and panic
too.
all around too. Okay, guys, please.
There's that thing again. Do you think we should like?
Well, we'll film it, but we got to film me first.
Okay, yeah. But get back into the light.
That just makes. Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm violating your.
I just want to make it look good.
Mise en scene with your $2 college words.
This podcast is about why horror scares us. What deep, dark, secret, scary cinema shines a light on. The discussions are frank and involve conversations about abuse, trauma, and mental health. There are also spoilers, so keep that in mind too. Now, sharpen your machetes and straight razors, because this is Cutting Deep into Horror.
Welcome back, my spookies, to another edition of Cutting Deep into Horror. I'm, of course, your host, Enrique Couto, here with my co-host, Rachel Rodolfi. And tonight we are talking about one of the quintessential early 2000 films, especially in the found footage genre, 2008's Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm going to give you realize, though, you just got all I'm going to give you a beating for the fact that you haven't seen Paranormal Activity.
I know.
And,
I know.
You actually...
I am lacking in my found footage education.
You're just kind of a poser is all. You're just kind of, claiming cred that you didn't earn or whatever.
And we're not even going to talk about the fact that I hadn't seen Blair Witch Project until you showed it to me.
I was trying to be nice to you, but I appreciate you. It's like the children crave the minds you crave under the bus. You know, that's where you want to be. I'm
just going to crawl under there right by myself.
Good. Well, if you've never seen Cloverfield, or if you're like me and you hadn't seen it since 2009, it is available to watch free on Pluto TV with ads, so completely no cost to you. And of course, you could rent it on the usual suspects like YouTube, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Amazon Prime Video. I have done so many episodes now. I mean, I don't know how many, but we've done so many episodes of This Week in Horror History on Tuesdays that it's gotten to become like a game for myself of how can I say, and available to rent on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and Fandango at Home. Because it's always, unless it's free to watch on one of those services, that is always the last three things of every single thing. Every time I talk about a movie, I mention how you can watch it. Which I also didn't expect so many people to think that was like sponsored content. Because I'm such a nerd, I'm such a true blue movie nerd. I never once thought, I guess you could be getting kickbacks for telling people to like revisit Bram Stoker's Dracula or something on Apple TV or whatever, wherever it's free. I just thought after I talk about a movie, you
might want to watch it,
rewatch it or whatever. So I never once thought that I was exchanging information, but I had to mention after one episode, I had to point out, like, we are not sponsored by Tubi or Fandango or anybody really, but we still haven't cracked that egg,
not yet.
The sponsorship, direct sponsorship egg yet. You really, by the way, before we get into the show, you really missed out on quite a Fargo view party last night.
Oh my God, I was so mad with how tired I was.
You missed out because me and Keith started doing oh dear voices.
Oh God, no.
And I found like my perfect groove for doing that. Because one of the things I started doing was when I would start, first of all, I figured out adding just the wrong, like too much extra information was perfect. Like I'd be like, well, when I was, one time I was house sitting for my ma, she was out of town for a little while. It was a nice trip. She doesn't do that a lot. And she has a dog, I'm keeping care of the dog and everything. Well, I got hungry while I was there, as I do. I get hungry around 5 or 6 o'clock. So I decided to make myself a ham sandwich. Nothing's fancy, just some ham from the refrigerator and some cheese. And it's like you just keep adding details, but you emphasize details that don't matter. But then the one that like I thought was going to kill our buddy Jeff was I started changing sayings, but to make them less special.
Okay.
So it's hard to describe. Like, for instance, I said like, oh, then when he pulled out the gun, I was like, oh, this is a whole other can of tuna there. Like so I just it's the can of worms. I made it a thing that's normally a can. That's just a whole other can of Chef Boyardee raviolis there. So we were having a lot of fun.
Oh man.
No, it was a hoot. It was a hoot, but adding the details is my favorite part. You just keep running with the details. But that really, really has nothing to do with anything. But no, that was fun. But I did enjoy revisiting Cloverfield. I wasn't a huge fan of it when it came out. I wasn't like a hater, but I was just kind of like, oh, because in my opinion, and unfortunately you don't have as solid of and as varied of a found footage education as you probably should. It's okay. I have enough credentials for both of us, I guess.
Yeah. You got to share. Gib.
Yeah. My biggest problem with it, we'll talk about it a ton as we talk about the film more directly, is that it's very glossy.
Yeah.
And found footage, in my opinion, not always, but often thrives in a lot of believability.
Mm-hmm.
And believability usually comes from being not so good technically.
Yeah.
From bad lighting, bad sound, anything bad is a whatever the opposite of a detriment is.
Yeah.
I want to mention, for those who I hope tuned in on Wednesday and listened to our 400th episode special, the final broadcast, which was almost 2 hours long, written by yours truly, performed by myself with special guest star Dwayne Whitaker from Pulp Fiction and From Dusk Till Dawn, Texas Blood Money, and Devil's Rejects, and Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. It was awesome having Dwayne be a part of it. But and Dwayne listened to it last night.
Oh,
he told me how much he liked it.
Oh, good.
So he said it was really cool. But for those who listened to that, I have not had what I would call, I'm not a big sleeper in general, but I have not had what I would call a full night of sleep for a while.
It's a gnat or something. I don't know.
Why would you talk about it?
Oh, no.
I noticed a few gnats. You don't have any fruit or something laying around somewhere, do you?
No, but I'll do a check in the kitchen.
I don't know why you brought that up. Okay, great. Now it's in the ether. I was trying to talk about the other things. But no, I'm not a big sleeper. And last night was the first night I got a little over 7 hours in one night, which I'm usually a 6 to 7 hour sleeper, but I've had I think it was 5 nights in a row where I got about 5 or so. Mm-hmm. So I'm on some sleep debt, hence things like saying whatever the opposite of detrimental is. I don't know why I like how it's like I only know the negative. Whatever the opposite of not helpful is. Wait. So, but no, I hope everybody enjoyed that. That was a really cool experience putting it out into the world. And if you haven't listened yet, check out Wednesday's show. The final broadcast. It is one of my proudest achievements on Weekly Spooky. And next week, I don't know if I want to tease it here yet, but there's probably going to be something dropping on Thursday for the first time ever. Which means the show Weekly Spooky will officially be publishing 7 days a week.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah, that escalated somewhat quickly. So, but I think it's going to be really cool. I think people are going to enjoy it. So anyway, with all that being said, you wanted to tell everybody a little bit about an event you have coming up.
Yeah, I do. So June 11th through 14th, down in College Corner, Ohio at Hannon Camp America.
Could you give people a context of what's near College Corner?
Houston Woods State Park is like...
Is it near Oxford, Ohio?
It is kind of near Oxford, Ohio.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, because people don't know what part of Ohio that is, then it's not super helpful.
I would say Southwest Ohio.
I mean, yeah, but we're in Southwest Ohio.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was just saying, yeah, what's nearest to College Corner?
Yeah, the closest landmark I've always said is Houston Woods.
I meant like they're not going to know landmarks. I mean, like College Corner is literally on the border of Indiana.
That's why it's corner.
I thought it was because it was near the college. Yeah, it's literally in Oxford Township.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so it's basically in Oxford, Ohio.
Basically.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure people can contextualize it.
No, thank you for helping, because that does help. But yeah, so 11th through 14th of June is a big event called Geek Out. And the best way I can describe it is, it's a camping event, and picture one part Comic-Con and then another part Bonnaroo. And that's pretty much the vibe that they're going for. So like throughout the day, there's like, cosplaying contests, and they've got different panels. They've got a LARPing trail going on throughout the day. They've got a bounce house for kids. And then at night, of course, all the EDM music and all that sort of fun stuff. So I have a big booth there, and people should come and visit. Okay.
Well, yeah. So if you guys are into that kind of geeky camping thing, and you don't mind figuring out where it is, I double checked. It's really close to Oxford, Ohio, which makes sense because it's near the college, relatively speaking. So not far from like Camden, Ohio, Cincinnati, closer to Cincinnati than us, slightly, maybe. Actually, no, it's exactly the same distance apart from Cincy and Dayton. So, but yeah,
I was trying to find where they're, because they recently changed their website, so I'm trying to make sure I have the correct website.
Oh, okay, that would have been something to do before the show.
Yeah, I just realized, like, why didn't I do that?
I don't know. But gotta love dead air. I mean,
this is what
happens when I give you a favor. You're like, hey, can I plug that? And I'm like, yes. And then you're like, okay, well, I won't.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I can't find it. Okay, I found it. Okay, it's geekoutfestival.com. And they actually did make that easy on me. I shouldn't have made that hard on myself.
You just assumed there would be a challenge because you're always up for one.
Yeah. So I made it worse than it had to be. So geekoutfestival.com is where you can get the tickets June 11th through 14th at Hannon's Camp America in College Corner, which is in Oxford,
is the
Ohio.
Camp. Oh, yeah. Near Oxford.
Near Oxford, Ohio.
Near the Camden College, I guess, or something. I don't know. I don't know education, but is it haunted or anything? Come on.
I will say that one year, one of their special guests was the original actor who played Jason.
Oh, yeah, Ari Lehman.
Yeah.
I know Ari.
Yeah.
I've been to a million shows with him. Yeah, I love Ari. Nothing against Ari. He played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 1. He was the little kid at the end, spoiler alert, 40 years old, that jumps out of the water and grabs the girl at the end with the big hydrocephalic head and everything, which was makeup. I mean, he doesn't actually have a hydrocephalic head. But Ari's a super nice guy, but he is definitely, and I got to give him respect, he is definitely shamelessly made being the first Jason his thing.
Yeah.
Because his band is called First Jason. But he is like, I literally couldn't say a negative word about him. I've never heard anybody. The only like rumblings of crummy things people say about Ari are, all he does is be first Jason. It's like, well, you know what? Were you the first Jason Voorhees? Well, then you don't know what it.
Yeah, well, then shut up.
You'd probably talk about it too.
Yeah.
So I actually really like Ari. So, and he's always been nice to me and my friends. So, but yeah, so Geek Out, when was that again?
June 11th through 14th.
Okay. Yeah. And if you go there and camp, not only can you meet Rachel, but you can, see her particularly unshowered, I guess.
There are showers there, but they're not great. It's like those camp showers, So it's just like a big line of showers, and it's
what makes
cold
that
and,
not okay? So it's like, the cold is what makes it not great.
Yeah, so, the cold is the not great.
So you are so spoiled, that to you a shower isn't a shower unless it's warm.
Yes.
Spoiled rotten. when I hear it's not a great shower, I'm like, what, does it only turn on for 80 seconds? Like you're like, it's cold.
Well, it's cold and the water pressure isn't great also because like, again, it's like a camp.
Shower,
that's like a camp shower. So like,
for all I know, camp showers have incredible pressure.
That's right. You haven't really like ever.
I mean, but I also don't know why it wouldn't have. I mean, it could just have crazy good pressure. I mean, you don't know.
Because you're like right there. No, the water pressure's kind of. But I'm not like I'm saying it's a bad. No, I'm just saying it's a camping.
Time.
It's a camping experience. But no, the music's great. Actually, my friends, they're in the band Auto Roller, and they're going to be there. There's several other musicians, and I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. I'm not going to try and look it up
this wasn't off the top of your head. You asked me hours ago to talk about this on the show.
But yeah, it's a great time.
Okay. I mean, you kind of sold that it's awful. But no, and the folks who run Geek Out, they're all very cool. The people who vend there are all really great. I went a few years back. The only reason I don't attend is because I don't want to camp there. Well, it's not that I don't want to, I really can't like be there for 3 days.
Yeah.
So, and if I did, I would need a minimum of Best Western. That's my personal, well, because it's a weekend event. So so don't really make it easy for you to come for a day.
Yeah.
And fair.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just didn't want people to think I was actually digging at it and insulting it.
No, you seemed to have fun last time.
I did. No, I would only put you down. I would never put the event down.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's the way it should be.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Cloverfield. And Rachel's going to go into why it hit her so hard. I'm going to go into why I didn't love it the first time I saw it, and a whole lot more. Or is it? So, Rachel, how did you first see Cloverfield?
Cloverfield actually was one of the few movies that independently, I saw on my own. Ever. No, like from you. Because I know that a lot of horror movies, like you've introduced me to them, or like I've been introduced to them by other people.
Sure.
Cloverfield, I saw the initial like teaser trailer for Cloverfield when I went to see the first Transformers movie. So I was one of those people that was caught up like in the ARG and like trying to figure out the mystery of it like before the movie was even released. So I was like super hyped about it when it came out. So I was obviously going to see it in theaters, like open weekend of 2008.
Well, do you want to expound on that marketing push? I was not really privy to it.
So along with, because the original trailer, like it didn't say the name or anything. It just showed some brief clips of the party, and then it showed everybody on the rooftop watching the explosion, and then it showed chaos in the streets, and then the iconic shot of the head of the Statue of Liberty flying through the air and then crashing onto the ground. And then it just said 1/18/8. And like, that's all we had. If you went to 1/18/8.com, it would have a countdown. But if you like waited for a certain set amount of time, it would like make noises. And you could find like hidden links on that website.
Easter eggs.
There were also like MySpace pages for all the characters that would like have blog posts. So kind of like everybody was leading their lives leading up to the movie coming out. So there was a lot of like internet speculation.
It was kind of like Blair Witch Project on steroids. I mean, they must have spent a fortune on budget or on marketing, because the budget was $30 million.
Yeah.
I think that's the most expensive found footage movie ever made.
I think you're right.
I mean, I can't think of another one that would be even close to that. Usually found footage movies are cheap.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the big benefits of them. Did you know that when all of this was coming out, there was an immense amount of speculation about what it was?
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite speculations?
Well, The one that I was hoping for was, I personally hoped that it was going to finally be a Godzilla movie.
You mean finally, but there was a Godzilla movie like barely 10 years earlier.
We don't want to talk about that Godzilla movie.
What you got against Matthew Broderick? I mean, he did have kind of a rough go there.
I have grown to like that Godzilla movie, but yeah, I wasn't initially pleased with it. So I was hoping it was going to be like a more badass Godzilla. Is what I was hoping.
I hated the '90s Godzilla movie. Was that 96 or 99?
I think it was 99.
Huh? Yeah, I think
because they titled Godzilla 2000 is what they titled.
No.
Oh no,
that was a different movie.
No, you're right.
I'm pretty sure Godzilla 2000 was a Toho movie.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, Godzilla 2000 was that was the one that one was all right. Godzilla 2000.
No, I got myself confused.
Well, how could you possibly confuse? There's only like 48 Godzilla movies.
Well, I know you have all of them memorized.
I don't actually. It's a heck of a lot. I have like all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. That's easy. I have all the Friday the 13ths, not necessarily release date, but I can tell you the order, the subtitle.
Yeah.
Halloween I can do, but Godzilla, I mean, I can do okay with the Showa era at best. But there's a lot of Godzilla movies. And those 90s, the Heisei era, I'm actually not that familiar with. But I always liked those because I'd catch them on Sci-Fi Channel in the afternoons when I was in my teens.
Yeah.
So I would like to revisit those. But so the biggest rumble was Godzilla.
Yeah.
I remember that very actively. However, one of the other big speculations due to J.J. Abrams' involvement was that it was a spin-off to Lost.
That was the other thing I was really rooting for because I was a huge Lost stan and I was not pleased with the finale.
Shocked. Absolutely shocked. No, that you liked Lost and that you weren't pleased with the finale. But another one that I remember people talking about a lot, people were really hoping it was going to be they were finally going to have a Voltron movie. An American Voltron movie.
I remember hearing that.
That was the big thing people were kind of like rooting for. Was that. And then there were some people, I remember some rumblings that I never thought were accurate, where a lot of people thought it was going to be an H.P. Lovecraft thing. And I was like, yeah, 30 million, or I don't know if I knew exactly how much it cost, but I was like, yeah, big budget H.P. Lovecraft thing. That's what they're doing. That sounds right. But I will say I thought it was ballsy to spend so much money and market so hard on a found footage movie and have it be entirely original, because there's no shortage of giant monsters, as we just went through some, and people thought that it was going to be a ton of other like Japanese properties were being converted to a made for an American audience. What was it? There was another one, but now it's escaping me. There was another one other than Voltron that people thought maybe that was what it was going to be. When the marketing was happening, I was at that point I was just getting my footing back in Ohio. So I wasn't really plugged in very well, honestly. So I don't really recall the marketing that much, but I do remember hearing some people say like, oh man, it might be the new Godzilla movie. And then I do remember a few people saying like, dude, they're finally going to do Voltron. And I was like, cool. I vaguely know what Voltron is, so I was like, cool. But then when I saw it, I actually saw it on a bootleg because I believe it leaked.
Oh yeah, they were fighting leaks left and right. So like they had to go through several different title changes for the movie just to try and keep it secret while they were filming.
Yeah, it had and that's not uncommon anyway to use fake titles. I could almost tell you all of the fake titles that Friday the 13th shot under, because they didn't want people to know they were making Friday the 13th movies because they didn't want to get attention. Part 5 was called Repetition. They were all David Bowie song titles.
Oh, that is fun.
One of the producers was really into Bowie, I guess. But I remember my cousin had gotten a bootleg, so we watched it, and my biggest problem was it looked really glossy and really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily because of the set pieces and the monsters and the special effects, which were trailblazing for the time for sure. But because like the lighting was always kind of perfect, the sound was always perfect, and a lot of found footage movies have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fine line that's hard to walk because, if you have bad sound constantly, people are just going to stop watching.
Yeah.
I'll go into that more. I can talk about the fascinating world of making found footage movies for the mass market in a little bit. But that was my first time finally seeing the movie. And when we get back, you can dive into when you finally plopped your happy ass down and gave it a watch right after this.
So obviously I was like rabidly waiting for Cloverfield to drop after seeing the initial teaser trailer. And when I finally watched it,
paint a picture. How'd you watch it? Did you
I went to the theater.
Okay.
I went to the theater. I went with I'm pretty certain I went with my boyfriend at the time and a bunch of other friends at the time. We were all kind of that was the Geek Loft era where we were all renting a 3-bedroom apartment above the Boston's pub.
Oh, okay. I remember you telling about that. Didn't you like literally live in a?
I didn't, but our friend Jess lived in the closet because we ran out of bedrooms. So we were like, well, there's the big closet, the big walk-in closet. She's like, okay. So it was fun. So like you would just open the closet up and Jess is just sitting there watching The Mighty Boosh on her laptop. And she'd be like, hey, you want some beans? It was a running joke. Anyway.
Well, good.
So a bunch of us went to the theater. I was like amped. We go, I don't think it was opening night, but it had to have been opening weekend. And I had never, I was aware of the found footage genre, but
it's pronounced Genry, but go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was aware of the Genry known as found footage. And but I'd never actually seen a found footage film myself. So this was like my first introduction to found footage. So, the movie starts, and when shit really started hitting the fan, that's when I had that moment where I realized like, oh, I am 500% more engaged with this than I would have been if it was a traditional monster movie, because I'm in the movie right now through the lens of the camera. I'm not being told the story because it's, regular cinematography. I'm experiencing the chaos because, it's a handheld camera right there. And so it really had more of an emotional impact, I think, than if I had seen any other found footage, because it was like such a raw new experience for me. So I was, and I love monster movies. So like the whole monster movie aspect, the down to the parasites and like all of it, I was way into it. So I came out of that movie like loving it more than ever. And, I bought it as soon as it came out on DVD, and, people would like start ragging on me, because shortly thereafter is when I got a job at Hollywood Video, and they'd be ragging on me like, how is it that you've seen Cloverfield and you've never seen any other found footage movies? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I just now have gotten the chance to go out and experience these movies for myself.
Yeah, I would have been like, how is it that you work at Hollywood Video in 2009? Because that's later in the era. Although they were still kicking, because Blockbuster didn't announce until 2013. That's when they officially said like it's all closing.
Mm-hmm.
So
I only worked there for like 6 months, I think, before they started closing their store.
I don't remember exactly when Hollywood dropped. Yeah. But that's interesting. I mean, like, found footage, because we've talked about it a lot, that it's a fascinating subgenre. There have been found footage movies, because in my opinion, the found footage movie is only a takeoff on on a literary concept so popular that nobody even really designates it, which is the fake journal.
Yeah.
Like nobody says like, oh, I just read this new book. It's a really good fake journal or like a pretend diary. They almost never do that. I mean, Dracula is a diary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and to me, that was like the proto found footage concept or mockumentary concept, which was another thing that came about in the late 60s. Cause that's really how, I mean, don't quote me on this. One day I should do a personal like deep dive for my, for reasons, about what was the actual first found footage movie. But a lot of people believe it was Cannibal Holocaust. And we've talked about Cannibal Holocaust on the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have seen Cannibal Holocaust and therefore love it. And some people have tried to watch Cannibal Holocaust and therefore do not like it because it is a challenging piece of art that you really have to get the whole picture to understand it.
Oh yeah.
And even then you may think it was good, but you don't like it. That's fine too.
Yeah.
I think we'll finally do Cannibal Holocaust when the 4K comes out, which will probably be next year.
Okay.
I think that's when we'll finally do it. Cause I'd really like to revisit it when I'm seeing the 4K for the first time. Cause that's a movie that really does mean a lot to me. I think it's a really brilliant piece of storytelling, but anyway, Cannibal Holocaust came about. I don't know if I went into this on the show about the birth of found footage, but it really all comes down to the earliest era of filmmaking was movies and shorts at the beginning.
Right.
And the shorts weren't always cartoons. Sometimes they were Three Stooges. Sometimes they were newsreels because that was a really popular way to get visual media because television was at best in its infancy and at worst just not existent. You had radio and then you had the movies.
Yeah.
And once talkie pictures happened, people like getting their news at the movies. They'd get them from newsreels. That's why you see in all of those, like all these, like all kinds of parodies in media where it'll be like, April 26th, 1937, Hitler's boys have moved on to the blah, blah, blah. That's what newsreels
It's a newsreel. Yeah.
They're parodying newsreels, but those would literally be at the beginning of your movie.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way it made going to the movies more, I don't want to say intellectual, but like a little bit more highfalutin because you could get informed.
Right.
Now, of course, you were getting informed by, basically the American government. So you were getting a side of whatever was happening, but I dare say, and this is going to be controversial, I dare say probably didn't need to hear Hitler's side. Just gonna put that out there.
You might be onto something
I'm
there.
Just gonna put it out there. I don't really.
I don't think he had much to add to any conversation.
No, he didn't. And we're gonna take on that note. We're gonna take a quick break, and then I'll bust out the whiteboard and talk about the birth of found footage a little bit. Right after this. Oh, why are you excited? It makes no sense. You have to have heard this before. Yikes.
At least 5 times.
So when it comes to the concept of found footage movies, you have that era of the newsreel I was talking about, and the newsreels led into a very popular film genre called the travel log, which was basically, they noticed that people really got excited if there wasn't a war going, they were very excited that when the news would go somewhere far away, somewhere remote that people who are watching it would probably never go to, which made sense if you think about what kind of books and comic books and TV shows were really popular in those eras. Alan Quatermain stories, the Amazon, everything Amazon was massive and I don't mean the company, I mean, the rainforests, everything Amazon in the 40s and 50s, people were just fascinated with the idea of the tribes and headhunters. And I mean, all of it was like a massive part of the era of what people thought about day in, day out, as far as like fantasies about faraway places and yada, yada. So these travelogue movies became really popular for that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the big benefits of travelogue movies, and I'm trying to keep it moving, is they got heavily exploited by, in particular, Italian filmmakers.
Go us.
Yeah, well, it's because of fascism. Because because Mussolini was a big film fan and he opened a film school, a state film school. So Italy, and to a lesser extent Spain, had a disproportionate amount of filmmakers in their nation.
Huh.
That's really what it came down to. So if you wanted to be a cinematographer or a director or whatever, you could just go to the state school for film. Now, there were a lot of negative things about the state school for film. A lot of them. I mean, you literally weren't allowed to record sync sound because they wanted to hear every line of dialogue as it was recorded. So you had to do it all in post. You had to do it after the fact because they were worried about subversive stuff in the movies.
Yeah.
And Generalissimo Francisco Franco in Spain, he was also, I would say he was a lighter handed fascist than Mussolini. But he had a lot of things too, but he was more, he was kind of a little bit more devil may care. He would be like, oh, you want to make like this movie, this objectionable movie in Spain and use Spanish crews. Well, don't set it in Spain.
Yeah.
He would just be like, if it's not set in Spain, I don't really care that much. So they made like, The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, which I still can't believe. I'd never seen it. I could not believe how much I loved that movie, but they literally, it ended up getting its title because they were filming it all in Spain, and there was like the Spanish censors looked at the script and were like, don't set it here because like we don't want that to be related to Spain, but we'll take your money. So anyway, so the reason travelogue movies were such a great thing for them was because you don't record sound on travelogue movies back then. It's all B-roll and then a voice, much like the newsreel saying, in the Amazon, 1946, et cetera.
Yeah.
So when you think about the way that foreign films were sold, they were sold to be dubbed into English, for American audiences, hence Godzilla, Bruce Lee movies, just tons of stuff, all kinds of foreign movies. This made it even easier because they could make a movie and then hand it to the American distributor and they would just dub in the voiceover. It was the easiest possible way to do it. But then they started noticing that they made more and more money the more salacious and wild they got, to the point where the voiceover started lying and saying things like, this tribe that's clearly eating chickens is eating the bodies of the flesh of the warring tribe after years of battle, and people would flock because they'd be like, oh my God. And that was the birth of what was called the Mondo movie. Mondo means world in Italian and in Spanish, but like it came from the film Mondo Cane, which basically means dog's world. And that was an Italian film that purportedly showed all of the craziness of the world. And they went to those places, although later on they got really lazy and started just filming in Malta. But like, right? Isn't that great? Like eventually they got really lazy. I'm like, hey, let's just film in Malta. Isn't there a jungle in one part of Spain? Let's just go there. It's like it's a train ride away. But the reason that this, I'm trying to not digress too much, but the reason that this worked so well for them was because they were on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And international travel was different for Europeans. It was easier for them to get to Indonesia. It was easier for them to get to Africa. To some extent, it was easier for them to get to the Amazon because Brazil had only recently been released from Portugal 100 years ago. I mean, there were just a lot of things like that. So it was much easier for an Italian film crew to just go to the Amazon and film a bunch of stuff and come back. It was just not that difficult, as to where American film crews weren't really thinking that. And they definitely weren't going to go to Africa or Australia or Indonesia. It was the other side of the planet. So as the Mondo movie grew and grew, you had more and more lies until eventually you ended up with movies that nobody ever thought were real at all. Ergo, Cannibal Holocaust, one of the first found footage movies, because that's a film about a bunch of Italian people. Well, I think, no, they're from New York. A bunch of New Yorkers who go to Brazil to disprove the idea that there are still cannibals practicing in Amazon, and their footage is all that's left of them. I mean, other than whatever a toothpick can pull out. That's kind of a joke. So that was like in many ways the first found footage movie, but it's still presented as a narrative. People sit down in a room and they're watching the footage back. And there's music added to it for context, which is fascinating. I know we'll talk about it when we watch the movie and talk about it on the show. But
it'll be good.
My point is, so you had that one, then you had films like Man Bites Dog, which is literally like a guy being forced to film psychopaths. You had a very similar movie, America's Deadliest Home Video, which I think I've talked about in here before. I helped remaster it. But that was a shot on video thing where Danny Bonaducci plays a guy who gets a camera for Christmas, finds out his wife's cheating on him, hauls up in a motel, and then ends up getting kidnapped by a thrill kill cult and forced to film all the crazy stuff they're doing. So all of these were found footage movies, but the way they're presented changed a lot.
Yeah.
And shifted a lot. Sometimes it was found footage presented within the confines of a narrative film. And sometimes it was presented as literally you found the footage. You are watching it for the first time, not they found footage and are watching it and you're a part of watching the movie. So there are a lot of echelons, and I'm positive there are other found footage movies I'm forgetting. I know I talked at length about this a bit on Blair Witch Project episode. And I talked about the last broadcast, which was more a mockumentary, which is more what the Mondo movies were. They were a documentary that was mostly faked. So after Blair Witch, I mean, it reinvents the whole thing. Everybody is interested in that. Then Paranormal Activity does the same thing. And I think to an extent Cloverfield did as well. It's not like there was a deluge of, $20-30 million found footage movies after Cloverfield, but it definitely made people think about the medium in a different way and take it maybe more seriously. I do think that would be a fair statement. One of the kindest things I could really say about Cloverfield as a whole, like on, in the oeuvre of cinema.
Yeah.
So I know that was a long way to get there, but my point is, with all that being said, that's why it kind of pulled me out a little bit, was that Blair Witch had a very heavy focus on realism.
Yes.
Possibly heavier than any prior found footage movie. Possibly. One of these days I'm going to go for it. I'm going to find out everything I can about all of the proto found footage movies, but not today, Satan. So they went all in on realism for the most part. They shot on high 8 camera and a 60mm camera. It was grainy. It wasn't always perfect. They spent tens of thousands of dollars sweetening the audio though. Trying to get it right. And we'll take a break. I will wrap up this. I have stories to tell about making found footage movies and then trying to sell them to Sony. So we'll talk about that a little bit and then get back into Cloverfield. But I do think it's related. I do. After this. So my point, and this is going to be wrapped up, is the realism of found footage movies is very challenging. From a technical standpoint, from a creative standpoint, you have to sit and think, how does this make sense? How does this work? What is the logic here? So when you're making a movie, a regular narrative film, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would have to take that film, if you wanted to sell it to somebody like Sony or whatever, who would license it to Hulu or whoever, you would have to pass a quality control, and the quality control, it judges everything, your sound, your picture, everything. And it's half automated. And then it starts automated and then a human finishes it. And one of the only trump cards you have in quality control is artistic intent. There are certain things that you can't trump a fail in quality control with artistic intent, like overblown sound or, highlights that aren't broadcast safe. But as I learned when I did my first found footage movie, I was terrified of QC because it was so hard to pass QC as a low budget movie prior. All of a sudden I do a found footage movie, and my number one focus in every found footage movie I've ever done has been realism. It's just what I value.
Mm-hmm.
And I was terrified because the sound wasn't always perfect. Sometimes people were literally behind the microphone and shit. I was able to get away with artistic intent for all of it. And I was very surprised.
Wow.
I mean, I went in and made sure every line of dialogue was legible. I mean, you could hear it, you could understand it, but there was sound that was clipped, and I was like, but that's on purpose because nobody would be getting the sound perfectly in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure the imagery was not broadcast unsafe, but that's not that hard. You just cut off 2 parts of the spectrum that nobody will notice are gone, and you're broadcast safe. But I was shocked. I remember the first time I did that, I was like, holy crap, they just said, okay. I said, well, it's a found footage movie. It's meant to not come off as professional. And that worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm still shocked that worked, to be honest. So with Cloverfield, that was kind of my sticking point. Was it just was really glossy. It also had a lot of actory people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that with hate, because actually this cast is friggin' really good. I mean, you've got Lizzie Kaplan, who was already somewhat of a name, but she really became big in like comedy shows and stuff like that. You had Jessica Lucas, who, gosh, what did she do? Oh wow. Oh yeah. She did The Resident Edgemont. She was in Gotham. She was in the 2013 Evil Dead. I mean, nearly everybody in this either was already kind of having a career, or this was the beginning. Like TJ Miller ended up having a pretty big career in a bunch of stuff. This was his first feature film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he went on to be in like Transformers: Age of Extinction, Ready Player One, How to Train Your Dragon voices, like he did a lot of stuff. So yeah, I mean, you had just or Michael Stahl David, was that the guy from? Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a different guy. I mean, he's in this movie, but was Mike Vogel the one I'm thinking of? No, okay, I give up. There was a guy who ended up being on Mad Men.
Yeah,
and then later had a big career on that show Superstore, which I liked pretty good. That sitcom, Superstore. It was produced by J.J. Abrams, directed by Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves, who went on to have quite a career. Gosh, what did he do? Oh, well, first of all, his first film as writer was Under Siege 2: Dark Territory. So that alone is excellent. But his first feature film as a writer-director was The Pallbearer from 1996, which is a romantic comedy, which I've never seen, but I really want to now that I'm looking at it. It was a big flop, but then in 2008, his second directorial film, Cloverfield, $30 million budget, did $172 million at the box office. So pretty substantial hit. After that, 2 years later, he followed it up with Let Me In, the vampire movie, which was the American remake of Let the Right One In.
Okay. I think I remember hearing about that one.
Then he became a bit of a hit maker, having directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War of the Planet of the Apes, both of which were nearly $1 billion box offices. Realistically about $1.5 billion between the two.
Damn.
And then in 2022, he directed yet another of the era of superhero movies with The Batman, which made $772 million. So his box office gross as a director is at least $2.5 billion.
Good for him.
So he's done a lot, and he's directed quite a bit, or produced quite a bit. I mean, of course, he was an exec producer on 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield Paradox.
Mm-hmm.
He produced on the upcoming Clayface for DC Films. So, I figured you're probably excited about that. So, and he's worked on TV and stuff too. So, quite a career that was launched with Cloverfield.
Yeah.
So, so my point is, it definitely, I think that maybe that was the disconnect, is it does feel like you're watching a movie by Hollywood experts. And part of the fun of watching found footage movies, and honestly, part of the fun of watching like B movies, is sometimes is you just don't know whose hands you're in.
Yeah.
I forget who it was. It might have been Tarantino. Somebody was doing an interview and he was talking about how, like, when you watch something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's so different because it feels so raw and gritty and documentary like that. When you go to see Alfred Hitchcock, you're like, oh, I'm in the hands of a master. And then when you go to see some movie you've never heard of that looks like this, you think, I'm in the hands of a madman. Which I love. It might have been John Landis who said that. But I always loved that. So I do feel like in that way, that glossiness might have hurt it for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But on a second viewing, I really didn't mind that stuff as much. My biggest complaint is, to me, it becomes hard to justify why they're still filming. And that's the hardest part of every found footage movie.
It really is.
Still filming.
Yeah.
Blair Witch Project had that great moment where Josh Leonard basically lays out why he's figured out why Heathers keeps filming, because it's a separation, a sense of separation. And I was like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
Yeah.
So, but what do you think? What do you think of having now seen several found footage movies, although not enough? What do you
There's
think?
never enough.
What do you think
Never
now
enough.
that you've always loved the film? You just revisited it for the first time in a hot minute. Has the context changed for you at all?
I feel that as far as found footage films go, it still holds up. I definitely see, now that I've got more experience, I definitely do see that glossy, polished, almost overproduced feel, like you're talking about. But it doesn't lose me with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still actively engaged. And it also, I kind of feel like part of like the big complaint of why would they still be filming through everything. Like you get about 15 minutes in and anyone would stop filming.
I mean,
right?
honestly, I think you could get away with it till like the last half hour.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
I think there was quite a ways where it doesn't break the logic entirely at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like the explanation that they do give, because HUD kind of says, because I think it's Melina says to him, like, why are you still filming now? And he's like, well, this is going to be history. Like, people need to know.
Sure.
And I do kind of get that. I feel the reason that sticks out to us so much is because it came, like, the movie was released in that sweet spot where people were like really getting mainstream access to like camcorders all the time, cameras all the time, but we didn't have social media and smartphones yet, so we weren't as connected.
Right.
So it was kind of like that sweet spot where you could be filming all the time, but it's not like now where everyone is literally filming themselves all the time.
Sure. Do you think that maybe that was something that influenced you? Because you took some like video production classes and stuff when you were younger, right?
I was interested in video production, so I never took classes, but I did in high school, like, make my own short film.
Right.
And I did in college take, like, photography classes. And so I do definitely think that's
you were a dabbler.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel as weird to look at raw footage, air quotes, but like raw footage.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. There are no intentional edits, which I do like about Cloverfield, is that
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it's all just happening. But the whole like breaking in with what was recorded on the tape before, I think that's a really cool element too. That's clever. And it works somewhat. I honestly wish they'd done it more.
Yeah.
I felt like they underdid it a little bit. But we're going to take a quick break, and then you're going to defend vigorously every element of this film against my lawyer-like acumen. Or we'll just keep talking about it. We'll see. It depends on which way the wind blows.
Oh, no.
Right after this. I feel like Cloverfield, it does kind of, its reputation kind of precedes it to some extent. I mean, it's a giant monster movie. It takes place in New York. So I feel like the broad strokes are pretty simple. I mean, it's people running from a giant monster and then these little monsters that come off of it. It's relatively simple.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, I mean, there is a lot of interesting stuff in there. Like I said, I do feel like it's a little, because it's so sheeny, I feel like there's not a lot of crazy devil details, although there are a few.
Yeah.
Especially that one at the end that you pointed out, which I did, and I loved that.
Yeah.
So we start the film witnessing a date between two people.
Mm-hmm.
And you just went, I was like, oh, I thought you were going to take it from here.
No,
I can keep going if you want.
Yeah, we do witness, it's a sweet moment where they like kind of wake up together in the morning and we're introduced to Beth and Rob. And we start to get to know a little bit about them as they joke around and end up making plans to go to Coney Island that day.
Right.
And it's a really special day for them because he's in like a month, he's going to be leaving for a new job in Japan. So they're not going to get to like be around each other a lot anymore. But then the footage, like, because it's found footage, the footage like jumps ahead. And then we get introduced to Jason, who is Rob's brother. And I cannot remember Jason's Lily, who is Jason's fiance. And it's now like been a month and they are planning a party. So we start getting these introductions to these characters, and the first few minutes we jump back and forth a little bit between that date and the day that they're having the party.
Yeah, like the tape's been recorded over and it's just kind of popping through. Yeah.
Exactly. So we also get introduced to Hud, who is Rob's best friend. And Hud is like the stereotypical, like, bumbling, always has his foot in his mouth kind of best friend.
Yeah.
And he's the one that eventually Jason's like, hey, you film the party and you should interview everyone. And that's why we really start to get to know all the characters so well at the beginning, is because we're seeing it all through Hud's eyes, and because he's such like a bumbling character, we like stumble ass backward into all the drama of the friends and everything, which I think is great. It's a great way to set everything up.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely lets you kind of get to know everybody, and then, you know, before you know it, everybody's running for their lives.
Yeah, because then of course there's, you know, a earthquake, and they all go up to the roof to watch, and then, you know, there's, you know, the explosion out in the river. But the thing that you start to notice as we're watching all of this destruction through the camera, so kind of through Hud's eyes, is, you know, I talked about in the trailer, there's that iconic scene where they're in the streets of New York. The explosion just happened. Everyone's running around, and then you look up in the sky, and the head of the Statue of Liberty is just flying through the sky, and it you know, crashes into the ground.
I mean, incredibly iconic, without a doubt.
Yeah, like, so, you know, so there's that. And then when they start to, when there's more explosions, and then they realize that there's a cloud of dust coming, cloud of dust and smoke. So they take refuge in like the electronics store, and that plume of smoke just engulfs the entire block. And I don't think I caught it, you know, obviously not on my first watch through, and I may have caught it sometime, like, but it really struck me the most watching it recently with you about how much of this could be processing and catharsis for like post 9/11.
Oh, I mean, it literally, a building falls down in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And throws debris everywhere, and people are running and screaming. I mean, I think it would be bizarre to not take it to some degree that way.
Yeah. And so I think that's also kind of why, as an audience member, when it first came out, why it struck me is, you know, we were only like, what, 6-7 years out from 9/11?
Yeah, seven years when they made it.
Yeah, so it was still like relatively fresh in everyone's minds. So I feel like that's also part of the reason why it had such a cultural significance at the time, is because we were all still kind of going through that whole grieving process, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Definitely.
But yeah, so they take refuge in the electronics store is when we find out that Beth has survived. She's alone, and she's in her apartment building across Manhattan. And so Rob decides he's going to go rescue her.
And that is a big inciting moment, because why get out of Manhattan Island when you could go deeper into the center of it with a giant monster just knocking down buildings like there's no tomorrow, which there kind of isn't. There kind of isn't.
Not for the people in New York.
I mean, if you go into the whole lore of Cloverfield,
yeah,
I think it's
not
like
much.
all of humankind. I mean, we got to mention 10 Cloverfield Lane is amazing.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is so good.
Sequel, such a great sequel concept to it. So, but that's one we'll have to do at some point on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's a solid impetus because the reasoning for him to go and save her is that he's always been in love with her. They had that first date, and then he kind of like fumbled the bag because he was afraid of he blew her off.
Yeah,
because he was like, I can't. What am I going to do? Keep growing this when I'm leaving?
Yeah.
So I mean, that works. I think from a human standpoint, that works decently.
It does
for how he gets all of his friends killed over one girl.
But he got to kiss her before they both died. So really, who lost?
Spoiler.
Who lost here?
No, I mean, fair enough. We're going to take a quick break and we'll talk. We'll sift through the wreckage of Cloverfield right after this.
So Rob and Lily and Hud, and eventually they find their friend Melina from the party. They all, against all better judgment, decide, let's go deeper into Manhattan to go rescue Beth, who may or may not even still be alive.
Yeah, there's no way to know. I mean,
she even mentioned she's lost a lot of blood on the phone. So so let's go deeper into the chaos.
Which, I mean, well, anytime you go deeper into Manhattan, you're going deeper into the chaos. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I lived in North Jersey, and the town I lived in, small town, it was the last town you could it was the furthest you could go from New York City before you had to start connecting to get to New York.
Okay.
So our local bus went directly to the Port Authority.
Oh,
to New York City.
Okay.
So so it would go directly there. So that's why they would refer to our area as suburban New York, because you could get on the bus and go directly, as opposed to once you were further than our town, you would have to connect somewhere and then go to New York.
Okay.
So we had a direct bus route, and they'd send us into the city a lot to do work and things like that. And always chaos, always a degree of chaos and anger. That was the thing I noticed immediately, was that people were very angry and things were very chaotic. That was kind of the vibe. But I mean, the sheer magnitude of people that are in New York and the sheer amount of people who go to New York is something that's hard to really quantify until you've seen it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the idea that they're trying to get everybody off Manhattan Island, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's the most densely populated city, I think, in the world. It might even beat Beijing and stuff. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the most densely in America. But I remember, because I lived so close to New York, on New Year's Eve, people go to Times Square. I never went. And one of the reasons I never went was because my little apartment, which was over a half an hour away from New York, was our neighborhood was full of cars. People were literally we're filling all the neighborhoods within 45 miles of New York City, even in Jersey, with cars with license plates from all over the country. People were literally parking in my neighborhood to then get on the bus and go to Manhattan, which is a testament not only to how many people, but also to how little parking there is in Manhattan.
God.
But if you think about those times you watched the ball drop on TV, you see all those people standing together, all smushed together. I mean, that's tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Where their cars going to be?
Down your neighborhood, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. I was very happy that I had my own parking space at the apartment. Believe me.
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
But it's a wild experience seeing so many people all just moving along. It does kind of feel like an ant farm.
I bet.
You do kind of feel homogenized, even if you're going in the opposite direction of everybody else. It's a weird one, and having to haul heavy camera equipment didn't make it more fun because everybody's in a hurry all the time.
You
all
mean
the time.
people aren't going to just like move out of the way and be polite for you?
Oh, no, they're much more annoyed because you're slowing them down. Like they're trying to pass you. No, they're all trying to pass you because you're going way too slow. That's the thing in New York City, and to an extent in Jersey too. I did not hate living in Jersey, but I did miss my Midwest experience of people being pretty pleasant all the time. In Jersey, people would be kind of barky, but if you bark back, then they'd just be like,
Yeah,
it's
like dogs. They'll bark once they establish dominance, and then they just.
It's almost like they just want to make sure the communication lines exist. You know, they're just like, "Hey, move your ass." And you're like, "You move your ass." And they're like, "All right." You know, it's weird.
Good talk.
It's a weird dichotomy. But yeah, so let me put it to you this way. I would not want to have to get to the center of Manhattan in a hurry today, let alone during a catastrophic event.
When they're actively trying to evacuate everyone.
Like, I would not want to do it today at 4:40 p.m. I would not want to try on a weekend. I would not want to try. That's all I'm saying. I went to New York in that 3 years I was out there. I went to New York a grand total of twice for fun. Because I had to go for work so much. I was just like, ugh.
Get burned out.
I went once to a Julia Nunes concert at the Knitting Factory, which was awesome. But oh my God, we had to take the bus and the subway, and then, but it was during a cooler era of New York. Like Kim's Video was still existed, so like we were walking to get to the subway, and I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Oh man, that's Kim's." My roommate was like, "Oh man, he went to school in New York," and he was like, "Oh man, that's Kim's." And I was like, "The video store?" He's like, "Yeah, you want to go in?" And I was like, "Well, it's 2 a.m." He was like, "They don't close." So I was like, "Oh man!" So we went in and shopped at DVDs, like. So I like that, you know, it is the city that never sleeps, but, I mean, Kim's is long gone. It was gone like 4 years later, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we had fun with that. And then I took my mother for her first trip ever to Manhattan. And, we had our moment where we looked at the Empire State Building, and literally my mom was like, "So how long do we look at it?" And I was like, "Well, we can go to the top of it." And she was like, "Nah."
That's your mom.
And then we just got sushi. So,
yep.
You know, it is what it is, but yeah. So anyway, that's my New York experience.
I've never been to New York. I think the largest city I've ever been to was that time you took me to Chicago.
I mean, that would be the biggest. I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, unless I don't know if Atlanta is bigger than Chicago, because Atlanta is huge. But yeah, and Philly's pretty big. New York's gigantic.
Yeah.
And then LA is obscene.
Yeah.
So
I do not have very much experience with big cities. So
I have enough to know I don't love them. I mean, I don't hate them, but I've actually I've gone easier on them as I've gotten older, which is the opposite of everybody I know. Everybody I know is like, I am so sick of that, you know, the moving quickly and the blah, blah, blah. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, it kind of makes more sense to me, I guess. Like, if I really need to be in Chicago, I'll be in Chicago. I'm not going to whine and moan. But that also may be because I have Uber money now. When I was younger,
that helps.
When I was younger, I had to figure out how to get around. Now I'm like, where is it? I'm just going to pay $18 and just get there for sure, and meet a really nice Haitian man.
Yeah,
so, that's always
all
the win. Exactly. So, well, we're going to take a break, and we'll talk about how their schlep through Manhattan went right after this.
So we've got our friends all traveling along. And at first they try going through the streets. That proves difficult, though, when the military comes in and with tanks and lots of guns and start trying to fight off the monster. So they decide that the next best thing is something else I've never had experience with because I've never been in big cities, is let's go down in the subway tunnels.
You've
You've
never been in a subway at all, huh?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. I'm curious, but I don't know where the nearest subway is.
Well, there's you're hungry or you want a sandwich? I heard your stomach growl earlier. Well, I mean, there's the subway in Cincinnati that never opened.
Oh, yeah. It has just been like sitting there forever, hasn't it?
I did a reel on that, like on TikTok and stuff, and it was so funny. People were like, wait, you can't just tell us, not tell us, like, why isn't it open? Like, what happened? And I responded, I was like, look, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, the reason I didn't tell you is because it was because of money. Like, there's nothing exciting. It's just, but the exciting part is that it's creepy and abandoned. The reason it wasn't finished is because they ran out of money. Like, they just didn't want to spend any more money on it, because after World War II, everybody wanted cars. So they were like, what are we wasting all this money on a subway for? So it's just under there. There's a bunch of subway that is nothing. So, I mean, honestly, the closest subway, I mean, there's kind of, it's more of a train than a subway in Philly and Chicago. Because like the train in Philly goes underground, but it comes back up. So it might be just New York. I mean, the subways, it's awful.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You get to sit next to somebody who literally smells like urine only.
Oh, great.
Anyway, but no, so them going down in the subway, I remember when we were rewatching it, my first thought was like, well, it kind of makes sense because like that monster's so big it can't get down there, and the subway is like incredibly reinforced. It's mostly, stone. Now, yeah, it could potentially like cave it in, but it would take an immense amount of force to do that. And if they're running through the subway tunnels, I mean, that's miles of tunnel. It can't cave in all of it.
Right.
So you have a statistical chance of getting away.
Yeah.
And it can't see you. That also helps.
That does help.
So I like that. And of course, I mean, going into the subway is just a smart, spooky thing. Because if you want kids out there, if you're making a found footage movie and you're like, boy, this is not scary enough, all you need to do is cut the lights out and have just a flashlight on the camera. It works phenomenally. It really does. No, I mean, I'm not, and this is not me making fun of a cliche. It works. When I was making, I can't remember which movie it was. One of the movies I was making, we were using a flashlight, for the light on a camera. And it was one of those ones that focuses. And I intentionally focused it so that it had like a field of view that was like 40% shorter, so that less of the screen was lit. I was like, oh, this is because it's when you're seeing them running through the woods or whatever with the light on the camera and they're looking around, you're looking at the edges. That's all you're doing is looking at the edges of the darkness, trying to figure out what's going on. So that worked really well. And then, of course, they did another trope that I'm not as big a fan of, but worked great in this scene. They turn on the night vision.
Yeah,
The IR vision or whatever you want to call it, and instantly realize that the roof is the ceiling or whatever of the tunnel that they're running through is covered in these little parasite things, which we had vaguely seen a few of early on. It was like we get glimpses.
Yeah.
And that was right after we saw the rats running the other way.
Yeah. Which is my favorite scene. They all started running. I was like, brains. Well, and I love that scene too, because it's one of those moments of like levity where you really start to get attached to the characters, because there's some fun jokey moments between like Hud and Melina. But I also like when the parasites attack, they attack and they take down Melina, and they're like, there's one that's like really on her. So like Hud and Rob have to like knock it off, and then more of those parasites come, and one jumps on Hud and starts like dragging him away, and Melina, even though she's injured, she picks up like a rebar or something and she whacks it, saves him, and they all get out of there. And he starts leveling with her. He's like, hey, thanks for saving me back there. And she almost gets like hurt or offended, and she's like, why do I seem like the kind of person who wouldn't do that? And there's a moment of vulnerability where you start to read between the lines and see that Melina's like the kind of person who does have a big heart, but maybe she's always been pigeonholed as like not being caring.
Yeah.
And Hud's always been pigeonholed as like just being the bumbling idiot and not being someone who could actually like be capable. So there's a nice moment there, but it doesn't last long. Because they have to figure out how to get away from the parasites. So they end up finding like, I don't know, you know more than me. It seemed like maybe a shopping center adjacent, like on, like in like a terminal or a station for the subway or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a station. I mean, because they're not.
Okay.
So
is it kind of like an airport where it's got shit in it?
no, yeah, it is. No,
Okay.
But that was probably. I mean, my memory isn't perfect on it. That was probably either. That was probably either the Port Authority that they had arrived at, which is where buses and I believe you can get on the subway in the port. I see people are New Yorkers are gonna be like, maybe there's in the subway. But then there's Grand Central Station.
Okay.
So there are not all are equal. Some have like just a couple of kiosks, and others have like a whole deal. Or there can even be potentially a shopping center right next to it, or what have you. But yeah, they're clearly near something bigger, a bigger space, like a shopping area or what have you. And I love the way they reveal as they get, held up by the cops. The military.
Yeah.
And they're like, and then they just walk through like one door over and it's like, oh, here's an entire military hospital we just built on the other side of this doorway. But it makes sense because they're next to a transportation line.
Exactly.
So of course they'd build it there because that's probably where they're getting to.
Exactly.
And that's where we find out that there's a full bore evacuation going on, where helicopters are leaving the Manhattan, coming and going, trying to get people out. But they say, well, we need to go find our friend. And they're like, too bad, so sad. Of course, the one character, the rebar saving character, turns out when you get bitten by those parasites, it's really bad.
It's not a good thing.
Because when she starts freaking out, somebody goes, we have a bite.
Yeah.
And they literally pull her away into quarantine. And then you see her like explode in blood. We never see what happened exactly.
No.
But it can't have been good.
Yeah. All we know is that she evaporated into an explosion of blood.
Of some sort.
Sort. Yeah.
But one of the... Oh, sorry.
No. Go.
One of the military people feels bad for this guy. So he tells him, like, look, I'm not going to... we can't keep you here, and we can't make you evacuate. If you want to go, find your friend or whatever, and he, like, pulls his wrist and looks at his wristwatch, and he's like, 600 hours is when the last helicopter leaves here, and... there's a possibility. Oh, what was the term they used?
Hammer down.
Hammer down. He said there's a real possibility we're going to use Operation Hammer Down, which is just leveling the whole city with bombs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, which is a great little moment and a really solid way to get across very important exposition, because he doesn't just sit there and be like, here's how it all works. He tells him just the information he needs to know to survive. He's like, look, if you're going to get your friend, the only thing you need to know is we guarantee that Operation Hammer Down won't happen before 600 hours.
Yeah.
So like if you're on that last one, you're still good. But I can't guarantee if you're here past 6 o'clock that the city will not be bombed. And I love that. Like it just comes across really quick. It sets the stakes and it makes you realize, oh shit. Okay. So they start running downtown, and then they discover one of my favorite reveals of the whole film, which is that her apartment complex is just a little sleepy. It's just it's leaning on the apartment building next to it, and it's like 70 stories tall.
I'll just take a little.
It's
nap.
like you last night when we were watching movies. You just leaning up against me. So it's leaning up against it, and of course she's in the one that's leaning.
Yeah.
And one of them makes a suggestion that if I were there in person, I would have smacked him in the head when he says, well, what if we go up the building that's okay, and then maybe we can cross over toward the top?
Yeah, it's HUD. And as soon as he says that, and Rob's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. HUD's like, no, it's a stupid idea. Let's not do that.
Yeah. No, that's a stupid idea. Let's not do that. But good news, they do the stupid idea. And we'll talk about it right after this. So this is the only minutia I want to mention real quick before we just like run, because we're like a javelin heading towards the conclusion of the film. Why did they try to use the elevators? Why was his first instinct?
God, and it's not that. Everything else you can excuse.
Yeah.
But that, and when he goes to the first elevator, he's like, oh, it doesn't work. And then is like, okay.
When he checks the second one is when I'm like, what is wrong with you, dude? Like, I can get out of habit going up to the elevator and pressing the button and being like, oh, right.
Oh, yeah,
why would it work?
stairs.
But he goes to try. He's like, well, maybe the other one's good. What the hell, dude? Like, the building's about to fall over.
And you're going to waste time on seeing if the elevator works?
No, Well, you waste time waiting, but worse, it works, and then you die in it. That's my concern. So they have to go up like 40-some flights of stairs. Very harrowing and video game-like jumping between the buildings. Very Call of Duty-esque jumping on like a non-flat surface.
Press X to jump at the right time.
And I love he's just like, well, hold on to the tubes for the or the piping for the air conditioners. It's like, But sure enough, they find her.
Mm-hmm.
She has a rebar stuck through her shoulder.
Great.
Yeah. So they have to pull her off of it. And they do it great because they did it off camera, which makes sense because somebody sits down the camera to help, do that. And and it was like, it seemed like it was safe enough that like she wouldn't just bleed out immediately.
Yeah.
It's fine. So now they thank God they get out of there. They hang out way too long in that apartment. That was but no, I think that's not me saying like how dumb the characters are. I think that was done to make me nervous as the audience. They're just sitting in this apartment and everything is sideways. And my favorite part about those scenes is out the windows, all the office buildings and skyscrapers are just, they're not, they're sideways because the building is wrong. So they finally get out of there and they start running for it.
Yeah.
And, was there another big moment I'm forgetting before they get to the helicopter, or is that the big moment?
I think that's pretty much the big moment.
Yeah. Because a lot happens when they get to the helicopter. They get to the helicopter. The first ride that's going out is mostly full. So, brother's girlfriend gets on.
Yeah. Lily.
Yeah. Who, his brother had died early on. So she gets in there and they say like, we'll be right behind you. They get in the helicopter. And of course, shocker, it crashes because the monster attacks it. And that is one of the funnier moments of the movie though, is like, he literally is like, haha, because the monster's doing stuff, and now all these like F-18s are shooting missiles at it and stuff, and it's just not affecting it at all.
Yeah.
And then he goes like, that's right. And then it like hits his helicopter. It's almost like it hurt him, and it was like, dude, why are you talking shit? Don't be
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. I only have 6 arms. Like well, I mean, if the thing arrived as is hinted at the beginning, if it arrived as like probably a baby that grew up, that means it grew up in Brooklyn, so it would sound like that. We should just end the show now. I can't top myself on that one. But no, so the helicopter crashes and it's a very scary, harrowing thing. We get a little bit more of like the seeing back to what was filmed on the camera before. And I like that stuff a lot. I really do. I know I mentioned earlier, I wish they'd done more of it. I do.
Yeah.
It was good stuff. But the way they used it at the end is chef kiss. So they're trying to like get everything figured out, and the monster attacks again. And this time I believe we lose our comic relief guy who's been the camera guy most of it. Yeah. We lose him. And now it's just our lovers. And right?
Yeah.
They're almost left. I thought so. I just want to make sure I was right. They end up hiding under a bridge in Central Park, and they start doing the Blair Witch thing of saying like, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so. Like, we saw this happen and da-da-da-da, which is a smart way to bookend and make it make sense that they're still filming.
Yes.
My only complaint with the idea of why they're still filming is that HUD was his name.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a name, HUD.
Well, his name's Hudson, so HUD is like his nickname. And I always thought it was fun because like heads-up display and like carrying it. Yeah,
and I get that. But the only reason I didn't love that was that HUD, like the big thing is he keeps referencing that he's not a videographer and he's not not into this job at all. He's being forced to do it. And that makes it harder for me to believe that then he'd be like, this is all important. We got to document it. I feel like if he had been a videographer person, I felt like it would have made more sense for him to be like, I want to capture this. Like, this is really important or something. But this is a small plot hole in a giant monster movie.
Right.
Like, I'm going to cut it the slack it deserves. Okay. I'm going to cut it some slack as long as Staten Island. I think it deserves it. I don't want you to think I'm just beating it up for no reason. But so they do their thing where they kind of say it, and the actors really sold it great. I mean, like when she doesn't really want to say who she is, but then she does it reluctantly. I believed it. But I'm going to let you have the final moment because you were the one who pointed out one of the big reveals in there. So I want you to have this. I want you to talk about it
So, we get the scene of them introduce or, telling the story of this happening. We don't know why this has happened. There's a monster attacking and all this. And they embrace and there's an explosion. And then we get one last clip
of them at Coney
Island. And they've gone up in the big Ferris wheel and they're just looking out over the ocean. And they're sitting there talking about their future, talking about their dreams, which is, really poignant and bittersweet with the ending that we just had. But the camera's not focused on them. It's still focused on the ocean. And if you pay attention...
Well, for a second, it would be referred to as being focused on infinity when the camera is focused on something that's more than 100 feet away.
Okay. It's focused on infinity.
I pushed my glasses up 3 times while I said that.
You
All
did.
Right.
It was
but
great.
No, but I just thought it was funny to add that.
So we're watching the ocean. It's nothing in particular, but if you look at the right of frame, there something falls from the sky and crashes way out there in the ocean.
And it's just kind of like, it's just a little pop because it's far, far, far away. And it didn't appear to be very big. That's something I got from it, is that it was not very big at all. In fact, I think the only reason we could see it was because it was moving so fast.
Exactly.
It was, leaving a little trail of whatever.
Yeah, just
But and that was like just a month and change earlier.
Yeah.
So I love that. Yeah. So it literally plants the seed of like that it was from space.
Yeah.
Well, more so because of the sequels. We know that for sure. Because that could have just been a red herring. I mean, anything could fall from the sky into the ocean randomly.
Right. Well, because that's part of the thing is Clover, the monster. They never
on a first name basis.
We are
Mr. Field.
Yeah. There was a lot of speculation, after the movie came out and after, like the ARG concluded and everything. What is Clover? And it's still not totally settled whether Clover did actually originate from space or whether something from space just helped awaken something deep in the ocean. Because there's the connection to Slusho. Jason, the brother, is wearing the Slusho shirt. But Slusho, during the time of the ARG, if you went to that website, it would mention that some of the ingredients are sourced from natural seabed nectar.
Oh yeah, I do remember hearing stuff like that.
Which is like, that's weird. The company that Rob was going to work for, the Japanese company, did a lot of deep, fake company, but was supposed to be responsible for a lot of deep sea drilling. And so there's like some deep sea drilling conspiracy theories. So there's no set origin story for Clover yet, but all of the Cloverfield fans agree it has to do with something with whatever crashed into the ocean during that footage.
Yeah.
We just don't know what.
Well, and so we basically end with them having their happy moment, but their fate has been sealed.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about how the film has affected everything, if the film could even be made today, the way modern life is, and wrap things up for this episode. So stick around or we'll hammer down you. So now that we've talked about Cloverfield and it being, things winding down, everybody dying, hooray.
Yay. We're all dead.
Hooray. I do want to mention, the special effects were obviously like trailblazing for the time. But one interesting thing I found out when I was learning about this is this one thing that Cloverfield has in common with another very famous found footage movie, a la Paranormal Activity, is that for whatever reason, Steven Spielberg watched one of the early cuts of Cloverfield, much like he watched the first cut of Paranormal Activity for some reason. I've heard that he's like, especially in the earlier days, he was very like that. Like if you had a movie come out, even if it was a little tiny movie and he saw it and liked it, he'd call you on the phone.
Aw.
and just tell you like, hey, I really liked your movie. And like, hey, if here's my number if you never know. And that would be it. I've heard a lot of stories of people with small movies saying like, I got the Steven Spielberg call.
Aw.
Which is, and they always said he was very friendly and stuff. So I wondered if the Paranormal Activity movie, I'll look it up at some point, how he ended up doing it. But he gave them advice on how to end the movie, and they used it in Paranormal Activity. He did the same thing for Cloverfield. He suggested that giving the audience a hint at the fate of the monster during the climax would be better.
Okay.
Which resulted in the addition of the countdown being overheard on the helicopter's radio and the air raid sirens playing right before everything happens.
Oh, and those are good touches too.
They are. I don't know, maybe he's a decent filmmaker, that Steven Spielberg.
I've got a feeling about that one.
So, but I just want to mention that because I thought it was really interesting that is like almost exactly what happened with Paranormal Activity as well. He literally was like, I think the ending should be like this, although it was a bigger change in Paranormal Activity. But with all that being said, revisiting Cloverfield, I definitely enjoyed it. It is, for a big budget action found footage movie, there aren't many others, and it does a damn good job.
Yeah.
I don't hate on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, watching it again, I was really struck by how I don't think that this premise would work. Maybe it would still work, but it wouldn't work as well in the modern day, like 2026.
Yeah,
because what helped, and like I said at the beginning, what the strength of this film was we were in this perfect sweet spot of film technology being available to the masses.
Yeah.
But
democratized.
Yeah. But smartphones and social media hadn't really taken off yet.
Right.
So like I said, like there was a MySpace page for all the characters in this movie, but Facebook wasn't a thing yet. Twitter X wasn't a thing yet. TikTok wasn't a thing yet. Like those were not even glimmers in the public eye yet. Like, so I feel like if this were to be made today, the premise wouldn't be as effective, because the moment something started happening, people would be on their phones, like tweeting about it, or, people would be like filming TikToks in front of Clover, like, oh man, I just saw this guy get taken out by one of the parasites. Like, I don't think that it would be as effective, because part of what made it so scary was that there wasn't a way to communicate with the outside world. Like, they get that one cell phone call from Rob's mom, and he has to tell her, like, Jason's dead. But aside from that, like, they can't communicate with anyone else, because, like, who else has a phone right now?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. So
I think that's a very fair point. I do want to mention Twitter was around, but it wasn't quite as ubiquitous until 2009.
Okay. So slightly after this.
But in 2007, there were 300,000 daily tweets on Twitter. So
That's
it was
not
already,
nothing.
it was already, well, it had, a lot of people claim it exploded in popularity in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we're old.
I know, I don't like it.
Oh,
Who was your MySpace top 10?
Oh my God, I don't know. That was like 20 years ago. I don't remember. It was top 8.
Oh, it's top 8. It was top 8. I remember. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, whoever I was dating was probably number one. I think there was a joke profile in there that was in there, and I don't. But this is 20 years ago. I don't know. Gosh.
How's your back feel?
Fine, but my shoulder hurts, and you knew that, and you asked that to be mean.
I know. I'm so mean.
You're not the nicest person. So, but yeah, that's our thoughts on Cloverfield. I think that was a fun one to revisit. I think it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you love the monster mayhem and you like that found footage flavor.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, it holds up well, even for being a little glossy. I think it holds up great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but with that being said, do you want to tell people what we're watching and what we'll be talking about next time on Cutting Deep?
Well, you kind of set us up for it. I didn't know where I was going with that, so I had to catch up with the sentence.
Yeah, I get that.
No, you kind of set us up. We are going to be, I guess the through line is going to be Steven Spielberg calling up found footage makers and being like, hey, you should do this. Because we're going to be doing Paranormal Activity next.
Because you feel like you can't survive the shame.
I really can't.
If you keep not watching it.
Yeah, if I don't watch it, then I lose all my cred.
That's true. So that'll be next time on Cutting Deep into Horror. And we do appreciate you guys joining us. But now it's time to wrap things up because this has been quite a tiring week. What with getting the 400th episode done. But thank you guys so much for joining us for Cutting Deep into Horror. We'll be back very soon talking all about the horror stories, the horror films that you need to know about or love or etc.
At least the ones we love.
I finally ran out of gumption there. But if you love what we're doing, send us an email at weeklyspooky@gmail.com. Recommend a movie, give us your own thoughts, what have you. We will read your email on the show. We love your recommendations, suggestions, and comments. If you love what we're doing and you want to support us in a very direct way, head to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get 2 bonus shows every month, and my undying gratitude. Now is a great time to support the show as we go beyond 400 shows. But now it's time for us to hunker down and hide from the parasites. So, sound good to you, Rach?
Yeah, let's get away from them.
We'll see you guys next time.